Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I'm not sure. I'm just kind of biding time. There's no rush, but anyway.
Now I'm ready. Breath.
I'm
Taking
ready.
a breath. Anybody else transitioning from out there to in here? It is a little warm in here. But what's helpful in transitioning from out there to in here is taking a breath. Whatever day we had, whatever week we had, we're here now. And so if you take a breath in, maybe hold it for a second and let it out. Take another breath in and let it out. And that's kind of the first step to bringing our voices together in song. With a song that has no words and can mean anything that you need it to mean, anything that you want it to mean right now. That my voice is pretty and I'm glad for that, but really what's even more beautiful than anything that I could do by myself is when we all sing together. Our voices need to blend and meld together. Even if you feel like you're not in the right pitch or not in the right key, it doesn't matter. When we're all together, there's holiness that happens in this room, and so we need that. So try it with me. Even if it sounds like maybe it's a little high, it's not as high as it sounds in my voice, I promise. If you try it, you'll reach those notes, I promise. Try and sing with us. Let's do that one more time. Warmed up, we have another part. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
This evening is a great Shabbat, like the rest of the 51 Shabbatot in the year. But it is really particularly wonderful for me and Rabbi Cantor-Wisset. She doesn't know what I'm going to say, but I'm going to tell you why. A few years ago, a long time ago already, we spent a longer time than we wanted to necessarily, only working just the two of us up here. But over that time, we grew to have a certain closeness about working on the bima and a certain approach to it that made it just so comfortable for us to be on the bima together. And while I think we would all agree we love having a bima full of people and singers and all kinds of things and all kinds of choirs and things is wonderful, for us, when we can stand here, the two of us, it's kind of like slipping into that pair of comfortable clothes or jeans or shoes that you just love having on, and it's so easy and so warm and so wonderful, and you don't have to think about it. And, it's a great thing for a rabbi and a rabbi to be able to stand here and just, we talk about beforehand how much we're looking forward to coming in, not every Shabbat, but on this Shabbat, and just standing up here and having the chance to lead the congregation in worship comfortably. And my hope for you is that coming to Shabbat services, I hope for you, who don't have to work and choreograph everything that goes on up here, I hope that's what Shabbat feels like for all of you. Like, I'm slipping into this warm, comfortable place where it all works, and I can just sit and breathe in the wonder of the evening. So that's what I want to say to my wonderful colleague and friend, Rabbi
For the record, I did know you were going to say that.
Oh.
Because you know why? You know why? Because that's how I feel too. And it is how we should all feel about Shabbat.
Exactly.
And
yeah, it's just nice.
yeah.
So let's continue page 130, Lachuna Ranana.
Page 132. Ohave Adonai Sinura Shomer Nafshot Chasidav Miyad Reshaim Yatzileim. Or Zarua Latzadik, Uishrei Lev Simcha, Simchu Tzadikim Adonai, Vehodu Lezecher Kodsho. About 6 lines up on page 135 in the Hebrew. Romemu, 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 Romemu Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu is this idea of going up a mountain. And this idea of the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat are that we come from the weak and we ascend in holiness, one psalm by another psalm by another psalm, and we're reaching that holy mountain of Shabbat, that holy place where we are at peace, where we get our extra soul, where we receive in all of the things that we need from Shabbat. Romemu, 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 going up and up and up. So sing it with me. Romemu, 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 Romemu Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu, 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 Romemu Adonai Eloheinu. Veishtachavu le'adom raglav. Kadosh hu Adonai Eloheinu. Veishtachavu le'ar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu, 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 Romemu Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu, 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 Romemu Adonai Eloheinu. Veishtachavu le'adom raglav. Kadosh hu Adonai Eloheinu. Veishtachavu le'ar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu, 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 Romemu Adonai Eloheinu. Page 136. Kol Adonai. Kol Adonai, the voice of God. Sometimes it's hard to hear. Sometimes it is so loud it's deafening. Havu Ladonai, B'nai Elim. We listen everywhere we possibly can for the voice that tells us that we are loved, that we are present, that it is Shabbat. Mizmor LeDavid, Havu Ladonai B'nai Elim, Havu Ladonai Kavodos, Havu Ladonai Kavod Shemo, Ishtachavu Ladonai Be'adrat Kodesh, Kol Adonai, 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 Kol Adonai. Kol Adonai al hamayim, el hakavod hirim, Adonai al mayim rabim, al mayim rabim. Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai. Kol Adonai b'koach, Kol Adonai be'adar, Kol Adonai shover aruzim, v'yishaber Adonai et arzei ha'levanon. Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai. Vayarkidem kemo egel, Lebanon v'Sirion kemo ben reimim. Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar. Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai. Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel ayalot, vayechesov ye'arot, ve'alo kulo merkavod. Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai. Yai lai, yalai lalai, yalai lalai, yalai lalai, yalai lalai, yalai lalai, yalai lalai. Kol Adonai, Adonai lamabul yashav, vayeshev Adonai melech leolam. Adonai oz le'amo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai, Kol Adonai.
Page 138, the Chadodi.
Yalalalala l'chadodi, yalalalala l'krakala, yalalalala p'nei Shabbat, p'nei Shabbat nekabela, yalalalala l'chadodi, yalalalala l'krakala, yalalalala p'nei Shabbat, p'nei Shabbat nekavela. Shamor v'zachor, beribur echad, ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. לקראת שבת, לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. יא לי לי, יא לה 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 לך דודי, יא לה 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 לקראת כלה, יא לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, יא לי לי, יא לה 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 לך דודי, יא לה 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 לקראת כלה, יא לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת
Shabbat Shalom. We've welcomed the Sabbath Queen. We've welcomed Shabbat. We have a lot of visitors with us this evening. I'll talk about that later, but spend some time getting to know the folks around you, wishing them well, introducing yourself, and wishing them Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom again.
Shabbat Shalom.
Well, it's our custom to welcome Shabbat by inviting people up who have not celebrated a bar mitzvah, but this evening I think I'm going to break tradition and do something a little bit different and embarrass an entirely different group of people. So let's say you are here on spring break visiting from college. Ooh, what about that?
Awesome.
Is there anybody who fits that bill?
I wonder.
I think there's a bunch of them.
Got a few.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago when they met the criteria for coming up. Come on.
Time goes fast.
Time goes so fast.
Look at you
8
guys.
years. Wow. How are you, buddy?
Look at
Nice to see you.
this.
A lot of them are Opel
Whoa.
grandchildren, in fairness. I mean, they're represented. Like, how are you? Nice to see you, buddy. Hey, Aaron, how are you? Nice to see you. How are you, buddy? Nice to see you. All right. Well, are one of you old enough to actually light this yourselves now? Yeah, Aaron and Marley, you want to go ahead? Come on, Eli. There you go. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. How are you guys? It's nice to see you. How are you? You look great.
Let's sing it all together.
Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, shel Shabbat. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
146.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la. Please rise. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruchu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam vaed, leolam vaed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
152.
כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. kevod malchuto leolam vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha veshinantam levanecha vedibarta bam beshivtecha beveitecha ulechtecha vaderech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liod lachem leElohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet.
I'm going to be reading from Psalm 116 on page 564 in advance of the festival of Passover. How can I repay Adonai for all God's bounties to me? I raise up the cup of deliverance and invoke the name of Adonai. I will pay my vows to Adonai in the presence of all God's people. The death of God's faithful ones is grievous in Adonai's sight. Adonai, I am your servant, the son of your maidservant. You have undone the cords that bound me. I will sacrifice a thanks offering to you and invoke the name of Adonai. I will pay my vows to Adonai in the presence of all God's people, in the courts of the house of Adonai, in the midst of Jerusalem. Hallelujah. And we continue with the Song of Redemption in advance of Passover, the Micha Mocha, page 158.
Yalla lai 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 yalla lai 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 yalla lai 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 yalla lai 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 yalla lai 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 yalla lai 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 yalla lai 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 mi kamocha bailim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh norati lo do seifele o seifele malchutcha ra'uvanecha b'kayam livnei Moshe u'Miriam malchutcha ra'uvanecha b'kayam livnei Moshe u'Miriam zizili anu v'yamru Adonai imloch leolam leolam vaed yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai dai yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai dai yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai dai yadadai dai yadadai dai dai v'nemar kivad Adonai et Yaakov u'yalom yad chazak mimenu Baruch atah Adonai Ka'al Yisrael Yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai dai yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai dai yadadai dai 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 yadadai dai dai yadadai dai yadadai dai dai. Page 160. Hashkiveinu Adonai
Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Shalom. V'hamidenu Heinu L'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, or pain. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Shalom. V'hamidenu Malkeinu L'chaim. L'chaim.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agitehilatecha.
164.
Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
166.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avod Ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Libnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah.
168.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. Page 171. Where might I go to find you, exalted hidden one? Yet where would I not go to find you, ever-present, eternal one? My heart cries out to you. Please draw near to me. The moment I reach out for you, I find you reaching in for me. בכל ליבי קראתיך וצאתי לקראתך לקראתי מצאתיך אוי אוי לי לי דרשתי קרבתך בכל ליבי קראתיך וצאתי לקראתך קראתי מצאתיך אוי אוי
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Let us turn our thoughts to members of our community and to explain to our visitors. It's tradition in our service, in our worship service on Erev Shabbat and other times too, that we offer a prayer of healing. Healing for those who are in need of physical healing, of course, but also those who are in need of spiritual healing. And our custom is that in just a second, I'm going to ask that if you know somebody who would benefit from healing, whether it's healing of the body or healing of the spirit, that you would mention their names aloud. It could be a relative, a family member. It could be someone, hopefully, who just has a cold or something like that. But perhaps it's something a little bit more serious or even more serious. And of course, we welcome those as well. And it can also be you. So there's a lot of options for you to embrace this. So if you know of someone now for whom a Misha Berach, a blessing of healing, would be helpful, I invite you to mention aloud the name of that person. We think also of these members of our community: Moshe Mayer, Duba Shava, Amy Flansbaum, Richard Half, Akiva Reynolds, Oscar Kornblum, Carl Jacobs, Sandy Kornblum, Susan Levin, we're glad to see you here. Leah Bat Yehuda Valifsha Chana, Barbara Ross, Jody Yusum, Fran Lotery, Howard Turner, Sid Cohen, Michelle Batchley, Abraham Halali, Barry Scher, Moses Lerman, Michelle Posen, Harvey Pickus, Sandra Mandel, Emily Berg, Stacy Levin, Karen Bat Beatrice, Gershon Ben Eliezer Visera, Beth Barber, Avram Rubin, Laura Klumek, and Stacy Adler. The Misha Berach is on page 371 in your Siddur, in your prayer book.
Misha
shebeirach avoteinu mekor habracha li'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Yishebeirach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. I always find, this is true in the bar mitzvah too as well, in the morning in the bat mitzvahs. At the beginning of the service, the person up here says Shabbat Shalom, and everybody robustly responds Shabbat Shalom. And by this point in the service, it's kind of like a little, you've lost some steam. So let's try it again to get that strength. We need the koach. We need to get through the sermon, which, as everybody knows, this is Shabbat Hagadol, the sermon, the service that precedes Passover. And traditionally, it's the longest sermon of the year. That's true. It's absolutely true. So, as I said in my video this morning, although I'm sure to you every sermon seems like the longest sermon of the year. But here we go. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. See how much better that sounds? We're all enthused about that. I want to extend a welcome, a very warm welcome to our good friends from the Pacifica Institute. We're so pleased to have all of you here worshiping with us this evening. For those of you who do not know, Temple Judea has had a fruitful relationship with the Pacifica Institute for many years. And when I say Temple Judea, I am in this instance first and foremost talking about Ellen and Michael Opel, who provide the energy and vision for this wonderful relationship. And without Michael and Ellen, at least from our side, the relationship would not be what it is. So we thank you. As well, among our congregation, you may not know that the Pacifica Institute was founded here in the San Fernando Valley about 20 years ago. The mission of the Pacifica Institute is to develop social capital, the creation and extension of positive connections within and between disparate social networks to achieve mutual understanding and common commitments to enriching the social good here in the Western United States. And at the core of the Pacifica Institute's ideology, thinking, worldview is hizmet, which means service in Turkish. The goal is to foster, among other things, dialogue among different groups, and Islam is at the core of hizmet and the Pacifica Institute. So we welcome our friends from the Pacific Institute, and we say to them a very sincere Ramadan Mubarak. It is also fitting and appropriate that we should welcome our friends from the Pacifica Institute on this Shabbat, because we find ourselves at a most wonderful confluence of religious events. Passover, Ramadan, and Easter all occur during the next 10 to 14 days. Now, it's very common for Easter and Passover to occur in close proximity. That's not that unusual. But Ramadan happens in the spring far less frequently. As you may know, both Islam and Judaism operate off of a lunar calendar. The lunar calendar in the case of Judaism has been adjusted so that our festivals, which have to fall in the northern hemisphere spring and fall, certain festivals can always do that. In Islam, the lunar calendar has not been changed because that is not as essential for Ramadan. And therefore, Ramadan migrates against the solar calendar in a 33-year cycle. So it will be a number of decades before we see this convergence again, although it was last year as well, I believe. But in fact, the next time it happens, I will be well into my 90s. It's hard to believe. I will not be on this pulpit, I just assure you. I will be, God willing, I will be cruising around the world or something. Now, given this marvelous moment in the religious calendars of the three primary Western religions, let us pause to consider a simple question. What is the purpose of interreligious dialogue? Now, we know that we've invited our friends from the Pacifica Institute to share in their observance of Ramadan. And we here at Temple Judea have a long history of interreligious work, which continues not only through our relationship with the Pacifica Institute, but also, for example, our participation in the Interfaith Solidarity Network. But why? Why be involved in interreligious dialogue at all? I turn for my answer to a most unusual source. Rabbi Eliezer Berkovitz. Has anybody here ever heard of Rabbi Eliezer Berkovitz? I'm not surprised. He was a very, very, very famous Orthodox rabbi. And I want to give you a little background about Rabbi Berkovitz. He lived, I think he was born in like 1898 or something, and he died in 1992. He was trained at the Hildesheimer Rabbinical Seminary in Berlin. He was a student of another famous rabbi, Yechiel Weinberg. And for our purposes, it's important to know that the Hildesheimer Rabbinical Seminary was the first, and this is what they called themselves, it was the first modern Orthodox seminary in the world and in Jewish history. Modern Orthodox seminary for training of rabbis. It was founded, interestingly enough, by a man named Azriel Hildesheimer. And there's a couple things you should know about Rabbi Hildesheimer. First of all, if you come to my office and I offer you a drink, I have 4 glasses with 4 famous rabbis on them, and he's one of them. So that's interesting. But he's also, if you know of or remember, a couple presidents ago of the Hebrew Union College, David Ellenson, how many people remember David Ellenson? David Ellenson was a scholar of Hildesheimer. He wrote a famous book, I'm sure all of you have read, on Rabbi Azriel Hildesheimer. And I want to tell you something even more important about Rabbi Hildesheimer. He is one of the lucky people who has a street named for him in both Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. If you walk around the streets of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, you can actually buy a book or get it online now, and you can learn about the names. Every street is named for some famous Jewish person or some famous person in the history of Israel, and you can figure out who it is. Hildesheimer, oddly enough, by dint of coincidence, I don't think this was determined, Hildesheimer is a street just adjacent to the Hartman Institute, which is interesting because, of course, David Hartman was a modern Orthodox rabbi in that spirit. Now, I want to be very clear that by the standards of today, neither Azriel Hildesheimer nor Eliezer Berkovitz would be considered modern Orthodox. So I want to be very clear. But there's no question that they, in their world, considered themselves to be modern Orthodox. And one central tenet of Azriel Hildesheimer himself and also of Eliezer Berkovitz was that Jews should not live in ghettos. They did not believe that the future of Judaism was a Judaism in ghettos. Hildesheimer and his disciples, Yechiel Weinberg and also Eliezer Berkovitz, felt that in the modern world, Jews should live among people, among the people in the world. And in fact, Eliezer Berkovitz, although very strict Orthodox really by any standard today, if you saw a picture of him, he did not have a beard. He did not, he looked, aside from his kippah, you wouldn't necessarily know that he was a rabbi. Now, All of this background is very important to know because, as I said, Berkovits did not believe Jews should live in ghettos. I don't want to overstate the modern nature of his thinking because I'll share a few examples that seem completely not modern. But he believed that critical thinking could be brought to bear upon Jewish studies. He actually had a PhD in secular philosophy from Germany. He was an extraordinarily learned man, and he believed that all yeshiva students, again, he's in the modern Orthodox world, he believed that all yeshiva students should study secular studies, science, mathematics, all the things we would study today in the university or in high school. Berkovits believed that every student studying in yeshiva had to study those subjects by nature. That's very different from many, many Orthodox yeshivot today, in which secular studies does not exist. Berkovits also had a lot to say about interreligious dialogue. And I happened to study him as a student and came across all of this, and this is the main reason I'm familiar with this. He isn't somebody one would normally study who's studying to be a Reform rabbi, but for one reason or another, I came across his studies and found them fascinating, and I'm going to share the specific part that I found fascinating because it's germane to our discussion tonight. Berkovits argued that while learning another religion or learning about another religion could be an interesting intellectual pursuit, it really had no purpose because a true believer in one religion would never convince a true believer of another religion to convert or even alter his or her beliefs. Now, when I read this, that Berkovits wrote specifically he was opposed to interreligious dialogue, I, of course, don't agree with that. But I was determined to find out exactly what he meant by that, knowing a little bit of his background. And so I read a lot more about him and ultimately came to understand what he had to say, which I think has a lot of bearing on interreligious dialogue today. See, he believed that the term interreligious dialogue often obscures what is far more important and what is in fact the aim of interreligious dialogue, which is interhuman dialogue. And I want to read one of his salient quotes about this subject. Human beings ought to treat each other with respect and hold each other dear, independently of theological dialogues, biblical studies, and independently of what they believe about each other's religion. He continues, I am free to reject any religion as humbug, if that is what I think of it. But I am duty-bound to respect the dignity of every human being, no matter what I may think of his religion. He continues, Berkovits says, it is not interreligious understanding that mankind needs, but interhuman understanding, an understanding based on our common humanity and wholly independent of any need for common religious beliefs and theological principles. And the more I studied, and the more I studied about him, Berkovits, and the more I studied about Judaism, the more I came to believe that what he's saying is in fact what I believe as well. We need interhuman understanding, independent of our own theological beliefs, yet we live in a world often in which theological beliefs get in the way of human understanding. Now, if you know about Berkovits, and I'm guessing that most of you only know about Berkovits based on the past few minutes, I can also tell you that while this is an amazing statement, you have to understand, Berkovits detested Reform Judaism. As a matter of fact, the Hildesheimer Rabbinical Cemetery was founded in opposition to the emerging and nascent Reform movement in Germany in the 19th century. He also held that Christianity, Christian theology, played a significant role in causing the Holocaust, and he refused any interreligious dialogue, specifically with Christians. Yet, he's on to something very important, and that didn't mean he didn't associate with Christians or didn't actively seek to live in the world where Christians and people of other faiths participated. But he is right that interreligious dialogue often gets in the way of human understanding. What he's saying is that too often we prejudge people based on how they define themselves religiously, and we don't want to engage with them on the human level. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. I think there's a lot to be said for the idea that finding each other's common humanity, independent of what our religious beliefs are, is something valuable and important. He wrote at length about interhuman understanding and dialogue, and I think that's a wonderful frame for us to connect with people of other faith. And importantly, it fits into an important Jewish teaching, this idea of interhuman dialogue. Now, we all know and we espouse the idea that we should treat others as we want to be treated. But the challenge with that teaching that we don't talk about enough is it has a large loophole. The only way I can treat you poorly is if I determine that you are not like me. Because the whole premise of it is that because you are like me, I treat you how I want to be treated. But I may believe that I'm created in God's image, but I don't believe that you are. And in fact, this is the underlying premise of all racism and all religious hatred. Nazis dehumanized Jews. And since in their view Jews were not human, Jews did not or should not be treated like Germans. And it's the same logic that all racists use. Dehumanize black people or women or Muslims or homosexuals, then you don't have to treat them as other human beings. For all of his intellectual faults, and they were many, Berkowitz believed deeply in the humanity of every person. And he was correct in my view when he said, we don't need more interreligious understanding, we need more interhuman understanding. And if there is anything our world can benefit from, it is more interhuman understanding. Genuine, empathetic, true, interhuman understanding. And if there is anything that we can learn from this unusual confluence of Passover, Ramadan, and Easter, let it be a vision of a world in which interhuman understanding is embraced. And this is the reason that we at Temple Judea join together with as many different humans as we can to foster interhuman understanding. Ultimately, this will allow for humans from all faiths and from no faiths to draw closer together. I hope that whatever God we all believe in, God's mission is to have all humanity, those with deep faith and those even without faith, to draw closer together. Amen. Danny Rogers is the president of the Board of Trustees of Temple Judea, and Danny is going to offer a few greetings.
See if I can do this right this time. Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's wonderful that you're all here. What a wonderful service. And it's all the better having all of you here, including our spring break college kids. Thank you for being with us. And welcome to our friends from the Pacifica Institute on behalf of the Board of Trustees. And Mazel Tov to Jacob Meyerson for Bar Mitzvah, I think tomorrow. And just happy to have you all here. Shabbat Shalom.
We are going to, thank you, Danny, great job, perfect in every way. We're going to conclude our service with the Aleinu, page 586. Let us rise, please.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשינו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר היה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
At this moment, let us recall loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. If you are with us this Shabbat evening, and you are in the midst of the period of the Shiva, that's the 7-day mourning period, and you wish to remember a loved one, please rise at your seat and mention the name of your loved one now as I come or pass by. Period of the Shiva, the 7-day mourning period. If you are with us to observe Shloshim, the 30-day mourning period, and you wish to remember a loved one, I invite you to rise at your seat and mention the name of your loved one aloud, please. We think also of Josie Berger and Chuck Burney, for whom we are in the midst of the Shloshim. If you are here to observe Yartzeit, the anniversary of the death of a loved one, if you are here in Shana, the year-long period of mourning, if you are here to remember a loved one for any reason at all, please rise at your seat, and as I pass by, please remember the name of your loved one aloud. We think also of these members of our community whose family have memorialized their loved ones immediately outside the Goor Sanctuary: Abraham Benzman, Harry Bush, Alfred Kukerbaum, Thomas Eisenstadt, Herman Frankel, Jeffrey Liss, Howard Stephen Prince, Max Richmond, Emma Russell, Renee Mitno Wiener. Zichronam livracha, let their memories be a blessing to their loved ones. The Kaddish is on page 598. Let us rise, please. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, ba'alma divrach hirute v'amlich malchute, v'chayichon uvyom echon, uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehi shemei rabbah mivarach leolam olmei olmaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitdalao shemei dekudesha barichu, Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da aminran biyama v'imru amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bin romav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort the bereaved among us, and let us say together, amen. For those of you who are going to be sharing in our iftar dinner, it's going to be downstairs, of course, in the Judean Salel rooms, which is immediately below here, following the service, which it will be Oseh Shalom, Kiddush, and Motzi.
It will, and indeed. And thank you to David and to Chris and to Bruce for beautiful, beautiful playing tonight.
Wonderful music. Thank you, guys. Really outstanding.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom. shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidasha mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. L'chaim.
Wait, you're going to stand down there?
I was just putting that down.
Oh,
Away.
it was a very good day for that
It was
vintage.
not a good day for that vintage.
You know, it was wonderful to welcome back all of those students who were here from...
It was. Maybe they should come up for
I
challah.
couldn't agree more. They're all highly successful in college, doing things from computer science to restaurant studies, cooking, being a chef, artistic people over there, future sports agents, future Jewish professionals, perhaps. We have them all over the map. And it's wonderful. So come on up. There you go, Mr. Adam. Come.
So challah and no wine?
You're not old enough.
Trust me, you didn't want
you-
that kind.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz, Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Get a little closer for the picture. Go ahead, stand. All of you stand close. Come on.
Kim,
Kim, did you get the
come
picture?
back. Take
Kim,
a
did you get a
picture
picture? There you go. No, get a good picture of all the college kids back. How you doing, buddy? Nice to see you.